So we launched RT1 on the 20th November 2017. It was the same day that the European Payment Council launched the instant payment scheme in Europe. And we started with 20 banks, 20 highly motivated frontrunners. And we've seen from the very first day a few thousand transactions being processed in the system. And that was actually a surprise for most of us. We were expecting very low volumes, type of friends and family tests. So that was a good start, I would say. And since then the growth has been very steady. As you can see here, we have only the last 3 years, but it's 40 to 50% growth year on year. And today we are counting instant payment by millions per day. We have roughly 3 million instant payment being processed on the RT1 platform every day these days. And another interesting point is that during the same period, we have seen also the classic SEPA credit transfer, the non-instant version of the credit transfer, also growing quite significantly. So the expected cannibalization actually has not happened. And there are probably several reasons for that. As we all know, we had the COVID-19 pandemic, and this has acted as a catalyst for the displacement of non-electronic means of payment. And that has been for the benefit of both instant payment and non-instant payment, so classical credit transfer. Another reason is that the non-instant payment systems are the batch payments, right? And they are still very strongly embedded in the payment chains. And the batch payments are very fit for purpose for some types of payments like salaries, pensions, VAT payments, and so on. And the batch payments like step 2 are very cost efficient, liquidity efficient, very resilient, so very fit for the purpose. And to be fair as well, those batch payments like step 2, they are processing payments much faster than before. So those could be the reason why we have not really seen a big migration happening, but we see both instant payment and non-instant payment growing in parallel. So going back to instant payment, when we reach those numbers, 3 million payments per day, what is really important is the operational resilience and the operational excellence. That is really key. So we worked with our providers and with participants and with the technical service providers to ensure 100% availability of the system. The system never stops. To reduce the rejection to the lowest possible levels. That's what is illustrated here. What we see today is that most of the rejections in the systems are coming from the screening and compliance checks that banks have to do. And all the technical rejections that can be avoided, they are actually close to zero. So we are now, we see close to 1% rejections, and maybe we hope we can go even below. That means that nearly 99% of all the payments that are processed by RT1 are successful. So the money will reach the payment account of the beneficiary. What's also important is the speed of processing that we have been working on. We'll look at all the possible bottlenecks and how to resolve them. And we see the result that this is improving and significantly since the start of the year. And now we are getting closer to 1 second for the end-to-end processing execution time. So I'm talking about the both leg of the transactions. And why speed is important is because, as we said before, the instant payment clearing and settlement infrastructure has to be congestion-free and frictionless. And the speed of processing is also very important for this infrastructure to support use cases like e-commerce, point of interactions, which are the situations where having an instant payment makes a lot of difference and adds value for the end customers. And I think, Katja, you can share some examples on how we can enable those use cases.
But I would like to come back to one of the points that you made, actually. Basically, I was wondering about the migration. So here you can see what David mentioned before. We have the growth in step 2, which is a much mature payment system. So this is why it's on a different scale. But you can see here as well the enormous take-up of RT1, so the instant payments. But the point I want to make on the migration is basically that the migration rate itself, it's probably not the best way to actually see whether instant payment is a success or not. Because basically what we want to do is getting new volumes on this. So we should be focusing really rather on new payment products, on anything that actually adds value to the instant payment, so that we can actually then have migration, not a real migration, but new volumes on the platform and new possibilities of revenue for the banks. One very concrete example that I would like to share is the request to pay, actually. The main problem is for an SCT is still push payment as the SCT, and that's not going to be changing. But we do know that most of the payments are actually triggered by the payee, who is actually the most interested party in a transaction, obviously. So having a request to pay, where it's getting in there, it's that adds an authorization layer to the that will enable the payee to actually trigger the payment. So that changes from a push payment to a pull payment, and that's absolutely revolutionary. Request to pay has many other benefits. So in terms of convenience or even on risk mitigation, because what we call the IBAN name check, which will become most probably mandatory very soon, is already naturally embedded in the request to pay. So that is actually making SEPA a better place. One piece of news that I would like to share here is that we do have a proof of concept at the moment with 7 of our member banks to prove the business case. We're working on a B2B e-invoicing at the moment. But this is actually to kick it off and to prove really that the request to pay can be a game changer. And I really think that's going to be the case to have the instant payments and in full scope. So, David, I think you might be agreeing with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Request to pay is definitely a game changer. In particular, the combination of request to pay and instant payment can enable any type of payment scenario that you can think of, like buy now, pay later, e-invoicing, point of sale, e-commerce. All these scenarios are possible with the combination of instant payment and request to pay. And not only that, the request to pay has also the power to enable interoperability between payment solutions. As we all know today, it will be very difficult for me to pay you, Katja, or you to pay me if we are not using the exact same payment solutions or the same digital wallet. And that's an issue that request to pay can address when payment solutions use the same scheme, common standards in a four-corner model that enables competition and innovation. So I think, yeah, request to pay definitely an important point to move to the next level. I think also you mentioned fraud, which is definitely an issue to be addressed with, as we say, instant payment comes with instant fraud. We've seen more or less 5 times more fraud in instant payment than compared with the regular SEPA credit transfer. So there's a big difference there to be addressed. And today the banks are the goalkeeper, the gatekeeper as well of the ecosystem. And together with their technology partners, they are doing their best to keep the fraudster away. But any bank can only see its own payment flows, right? So what we want to do to help them to combat fraud is to bring the network view that we have with our payment system. As you mentioned, Katja, at the beginning, we have nearly 20 billion payments per year on those platforms. So that's think we can say it's big data, right? 20 billion payments. It's quite significant, and that's exactly what we need to see the patterns that exist across the entire network, and also to identify the anomalies across those patterns and to report those anomalies to our participants so that they can take better decisions and more educated decisions before initiating a payment. And for the payment that have been already initiated, well, it's too late for the preventions, right? But it's never too late to learn and to use the payment data to train the model so that they become better and more effective moving forward to prevent fraud. So by the end of the year, we will bring FPAD, which is the acronym for fraud pattern and anomaly detection, which will also bring the IBAN name check that you mentioned, and that will at some point will become mandatory by the regulation. We'll come back to that a bit later. And it becomes even more important when instant payment starts to get used at cross-border level. We all know that cross-border payments, the fraud risk is a bit higher. So I'm looking at you, Katja, with your user relationship point of view. How do you see cross-border instant payment becoming a reality?
Well, I think all the users that want to have the same service levels from domestic or cross-border, they don't really care which one is which. It needs to be absolutely transparent. It needs to be speedy. It needs to be the same cost and the same convenience for the end user. So what we can do is basically by interlinking the instant payment systems, we can achieve all that. So with all the different instant payment infrastructures that are developed throughout the globe, this can also become totally global. We have been working together with the clearinghouse and with SWIFT in order to have IXP, which is immediate cross-border. So we are linking at the RT1 system to the real-time payment system in the US. We've done a proof of concept for that, and we have seen that technically a transaction between the US and Europe can be achieved within 30 seconds. Yeah. So that's extremely fast. Now we have been pausing that project for a little bit, but we are taking it up now again, and we are very soon working on again on the US Euro corridor. But the beauty of the IXP is actually that it's multi-hub. So we can actually link other currency corridors to it very easily. So once the first one is established, we can any other instant payment system that would like to become part of that can be connected to the platform very, very easily. And with that, we can go global. Basically, I would like to recap a little bit of what we've been saying. The points that actually will take the instant payments to the next level. So the first one is the operational excellence that David mentioned. Taking off the friction from the end user experience will make that happen probably. So it's absolute key that we have the operational excellence, better speed, 24/7 without any problems ever. The second point we mentioned was request to pay. So the new solutions around instant payment that actually enable the instant payments to be used in a better way and for new products. Third, the fraud combating. Fraud is, as some say, I think we had the quote earlier, instant payments, instant fraud. So this is where comes in the fraud combating tools, and where the central view can actually bring tremendous benefits to the banks and making SEPA a safer place. And then fourth, what I just mentioned, the global interlinking of the payment systems. That's the way forward that we think. And we think it's the only way forward because it's reliable and scalable. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, no, I think you mentioned the most important point. If I would add one, I would talk about reachability for a while. Reachability is important for any payment solution. We want to use payment solutions that can be used universally and that can bring the ubiquity. What we see in Europe already now is that there is already a critical mass on instant payment, meaning that close to 90% of all payment accounts are already reachable to instant payments. But we don't forget that the instant payment scheme in Europe remains an optional scheme. So under these conditions, it is very difficult to achieve full reach. And that's probably one of the reasons why we will get an instant payment regulation that will be coming soon. And that will make mandatory for all payment service providers to offer instant payment to their customers, both on the sending and on the receiving side. And that's also the same regulation that will bring the IBAN and name check that we mentioned already a couple of times during this presentation. So we have a regulation coming. Nevertheless, I think the point is that instant payment should not be seen as a compliance project. Otherwise, there is a risk that the industry will not be able to grasp the full potential and all the business opportunities that the adoption of instant payment at a broader scale can bring to the ecosystem. We should more see it as a call for action for the industry. The demand from the regulator is nothing less than a profound transformation of the way we pay. And to achieve this, what we want to create is an environment for banks and their technical service providers to create and shape their own destiny. And more concretely, what we mean by that is that banks should not only bear the cost and the investment without being able to capture the value. If so, others will do. The big tech, the fintechs, will create the value-added services, and then will capture the business opportunities and the revenues, and will use the infrastructure that banks have created. So that's really important that this industry come together to innovate, to create these new payment solutions, to build on the existing building blocks, like the payment infrastructure, the instant payment infrastructure, request to pay, fraud pattern and anomaly detection, and IXB to enable cross-border instant payment. So again, this is not just about compliance. This is really about transformation through collaboration. That sounds a bit like also like a mission statement and our work program for the next years. And I think that's what we wanted to say today.
I think that sums it up, yes.
Yeah, that's our vision on how to take instant payment to the next level. So hope you enjoyed this session. Sorry for some of the glitches, but I hope you find it interesting and insightful. And Katja and I, we will stay around in case you have questions. And we wish you all a very nice afternoon at Sibos. Thanks very much.
Thank you.